What happens when a mortal dares to ask the heavens for mercy? Can a single man reach beyond the clouds, pull a river from the stars, and bring it down to earth? In the silence of the Himalayas, a king stood still. No army behind him, no weapon in hand, only prayer in his breath and fire in his soul. Above him, the celestial Ganga shimmered across the night sky, not as water, but as light, as longing, as lightning caged in clouds. They said she could never fall. They said her descent would destroy the earth. But one man, one quiet flame named Bhagiratha, believed. What power does love hold for ancestors unseen? What mountain can devotion not move? Stay till the end, for this is the story of how Ganga came to earth and how one king moved the stars. Namaste and welcome to Vedic Wars. Here, we don't just tell stories, we remember them, not as old myths, but as living echoes of rivers, sages, kings, and quiet acts of dharma. If you're new here, I'm really glad you found your way. Stay with us till the end. This story might stay with you longer than you expect. And if it touches you, please like, share, and subscribe to Vedic Wars. In the golden age of kings, before Bhagiratha, before even his father, there ruled a mighty sovereign, Raja Sagar. His name thundered across the land, a monarch of the Ikshvaku dynasty, his lineage kissed by the sun god Surya himself. To prove his supremacy, he performed the ancient Ashwamedha Yagya, the horse sacrifice of kings, a sacred ritual where a divine stallion roamed freely, claiming dominion over every land it passed. But this time, the sacred horse vanished. The skies dimmed, omens stirred. Raja Sagar sent his sons, 60,000 princes, born of flame and pride, to search for the steed. They searched valleys, stormed forests, crossed rivers like arrows of fire, and then they found it. Tethered beside a sage, Sage Kapila, ancient, eternal. Eyes closed in samadhi, the horse at his feet, not stolen, but resting. Yet the princes, drunk on power, saw only threat. They shouted, demanded. Some drew their blades, and Kapila opened his eyes. No anger, no shouting, just light. A blaze erupted, divine, white, wordless, and in an instant, ashes. All 60,000 sons, reduced to smoke, not killed, unliberated. Their souls trapped, hovering between realms, yearning for moksha, but chained by their karma. Kapila's voice, thunder soft, declared, "Only the waters of Ganga, the river of heaven, can wash their ashes. Only she can grant them peace." But Ganga, she flowed in Swarg, in the arms of the gods, far beyond the soil of man. And so began a waiting that lasted for generations. In the palace of Ayodhya, amid marble halls and silken tapestries, a young prince stood at the crossroads. Bhagiratha, son of King Dilip, great-grandson of Sagar, a lion by blood, but a pilgrim by soul. He did not sit on the throne, he sat in the archives, reading old scrolls, tracing names that history had turned to ash. 60,000 forefathers, his blood, his bone, his breath, cursed to wander between realms. Each night, he dreamt of fire. Each dawn, he heard their silent cries. And one morning, he stood before the royal court, not to claim his crown, but to renounce it. "I will not rule," he said, "until my ancestors are at peace." Gasps filled the court. Ministers whispered, but the prince had already turned. He removed his jewels, unclasped his sword, and placed the royal seal on the ground. In simple robes, barefoot, he walked out into the wild. No chariot, no soldiers, no fanfare, only a whisper in his soul. "If no one else will lift this burden, I will." He crossed forests that swallowed light, climbed cliffs that tore his feet, slept under trees where serpents hissed, until finally, the Himalayas stood before him, silent, ancient, waiting. And there, his penance began. He reached a peak so high, even the wind paused to bow. There, Bhagiratha stood, not as a prince, but as a speck of surrender beneath the sky. One leg folded, one leg rooted, like a tree that had forgotten how to fall. Eyes closed, breath shallow, mind still. And so began his tapasya, not for a day, not for a season, but for 1,000 years. The snow fell, the sun scorched, the moon wept silver upon his shoulders. The rivers below changed course, but he did not move. Birds nested in his hair, moss claimed his arms. Even the stars watched in awe. He ate nothing, drank only dew, lived only on dhyan, deep meditation. What did he see in that stillness? What chants echoed in his bones? Perhaps he saw his ancestors, hovering like smoke. Perhaps he heard the voice of the earth pleading for Ganga's grace. Or maybe he became silence itself. And then, one day, the sky broke open. A lotus of light bloomed in the clouds. Brahmadev appeared, radiant, eternal. "O Bhagiratha," he said, "your tapasya has reached my ears, pierced my heart, and stirred the heavens. Ask." The prince bowed, slow as rain. "Let the river Ganga descend. Let her cleanse the ashes. Let my ancestors rise." Brahma smiled, a smile made of dawn. "Granted," he said, but then, he warned, "She falls not like rain, she crashes like galaxies. Her descent will destroy the earth, unless Shiva himself bears her weight. Seek the Lord of Kailash." And just like that, a new journey began. Bhagiratha did not rest. He did not rejoice. For one mountain had been climbed, but a far greater one remained. Shiva, the Adiyogi, the Mahadev, he who meditates beyond desire, beyond time, beyond even gods. Bhagiratha turned north, towards the white silence of Mount Kailash, where even the wind forgets its name. Each step was a prayer, each breath a mantra. He walked through blizzards that howled like wolves, crossed rivers, frozen in eternal pause. His feet split on ice, his lips cracked in the cold, but his soul only burned brighter. Days turned to weeks, weeks blurred into months, until finally he reached the summit. There, under a tree made of stillness, sat Shiva, eyes shut, mind infinite. Serpent coiled. Ganga herself, already a whisper in his hair. Bhagiratha did not speak at once. He bowed, touched his forehead to the snow, and waited for silence to notice him. Then he spoke. "Mahadev," he whispered, "my ancestors wait in ash. Brahma has blessed the river's fall, but without you, earth cannot survive it. Only you can carry her. Only you can cradle the infinite." Shiva opened his eyes, two oceans of calm. He did not ask why, he did not ask how. He simply nodded. "I will hold her," he said. "Let her descend." And so, the sky prepared for a storm, and the earth prepared for salvation. And then, the heavens opened. Not with thunder, but with anticipation. The stars held their breath, the wind whispered across galaxies. And from the very edge of Swarg she leapt, Ganga, not just a river but a force, a fire, a song of the cosmos. She came roaring, a silver serpent of celestial water, twisting through dimensions, howling with pride. She did not descend, she attacked, with fury, with momentum, with the arrogance of the divine. She would tear mountains, she would shatter the earth, she would announce herself. But below stood Shiva, still, silent, ready. He did not move, he did not flinch. As she crashed down, with all the weight of the heavens, he simply lifted his brow, and with it, his jata unfurled, vast, infinite, coiled like galaxies. Into it, she vanished. The roar became a whisper, the storm became a sigh. Inside his locks, Ganga churned, struggled, fought. But she could not break him, she could only surrender. Her rage melted, her chaos softened, and Shiva, with infinite gentleness, released a single strand of his hair. From it flowed a stream, graceful, slow, sacred. No longer a river of wrath, now a river of blessing. The heavens wept in joy, the earth sang, and Ganga, reborn, began her descent. She touched the earth, and the earth sighed. For the first time in yugas, the soil felt the softness of heaven. The river, no longer celestial flame, now flowed like a mother's lullaby. Bhagiratha stood at the edge of the stream, his hands folded, his eyes closed, but his spirit soaring. He stepped forward, and the Ganga followed, not behind, but like a shadow of light, curving wherever his chariot turned. Across hills, she danced. Through groves, she whispered. Villagers gathered at her banks, eyes wide, hands trembling. Children leapt into her arms. Old sages bowed low, offering mantras like petals into her waves. Wherever she passed, drought faded. Dust turned to lotus. Even stones seemed to sigh in relief. And Bhagiratha, once a prince, now a pilgrim, became a bridge. Between the past and the present, between sorrow and salvation, not with speeches, not with swords, but with presence. And the river flowed on. But not all flowed smooth, for even divine rivers in their delight can become reckless. Ganga, in her newfound joy, rushed wild and wide. She sang too loud, danced too far, fields overflowed, ashrams trembled. And then she entered the hermitage of Rishi Jahnu. The sage, ancient and serene, was deep in meditation, his breath still as stone, his thoughts rivers of silence. But Ganga swept away his ritual fire, drowned his sacred grounds. The sage opened his eyes, not in anger, not in rage, but in decision, and with a single breath, he drank her, all of her. The river disappeared, gone, swallowed by stillness. Panic gripped the world. Bhagiratha fell to his knees. He pleaded, not with arrogance but with tears. Rishi, he cried, this river is not for glory. She flows for the dead, let her return. For them. Janu heard the truth in his voice. He smiled, and from his ear released Ganga once more, calmer, kinder, wiser. And from that day, she was also called Janavi, daughter of the sage. And so they arrived. After mountains, penance, storms, and sages, Bhagiratha and Ganga reached the place of waiting. A quiet shore where the ashes of 60,000 suns lay hidden beneath the sand. No temples stood there, no flags waved, only the weight of memory and the hum of unspoken sorrow. Bhagiratha dismounted. He did not speak. He did not weep. He walked barefoot to the edge of the ocean and knelt, and Ganga flowed, not in fury, not in pride, but like a mother returning home. She kissed the ashes, she caressed the ground, she entered the earth with a tenderness even gods had never seen. And then, the smoke lifted. One by one, the souls rose, no longer bound, no longer burning. They rose in light. Faces turned skyward, free. Moksha, the heavens thundered in joy. Flowers fell from the sky. Even time paused to honor the moment. And Bhagiratha, the prince who refused a crown, became immortal, not in stone, but in the river's name. From that day forward, she was no longer just Ganga. She was Bhagirathi, the one brought down by a single man's love for those long gone. If this story stirs your soul, like, share, subscribe, because Dharma lives on, only when it is remembered. What does it mean? To carry a burden you did not create, to walk for souls you've never met, to renounce a crown, not for heaven, but for redemption. Bhagiratha's story is not just ancient, it is eternal. He did not conquer kingdoms, he did not build palaces, he became a path, so others might walk. He bent before gods, he wept before sages, he fasted beneath stars, all for a promise carried like fire in his chest. This is not just history, this is a mirror. Ask yourself, what vow would you keep, even when the world forgets it? What cause would you suffer for, even if no one applauds? And what legacy would you give to those who may never know your name? That is Bhagiratha Prayatna, an impossible task made possible by relentless sacred will. The Ganga still flows through forests and cities, through temples and gutters, through chaos, and through calm, but deeper still, she flows through story, through breath, through blood. She reminds us that even one soul, rooted in love and dharma, can move not just rivers, but heaven itself. Thank you, dear seeker, for walking this journey with us. If this tale touched you, let it touch another, share it, subscribe to Vedic Wars. Because when we keep these stories alive, they keep us alive, in ways the world has forgotten.